Yes, guys, welcome back to Flat Cap Euro Talk. And then this one, I'm going to be breaking down who is Sofyan Amrabat, the Moroccan international who plays for Fiorentina. I'm kind of just doing a bit of an explainer on who the guy is and why maybe Spurs are interested in this sort of player. I'll be honest, I'm not really excited about this kind of transfer. Not really somebody that I would really be jumping out of my chair for. Barely even knew of him. Obviously, knew of his older brother, Nordin Amrabat, who played for Watford. I think maybe he still plays for Watford. I'm not too sure. But everybody, I would say this is not a transfer that I'm super excited about, but might as well explain who he is and maybe what he can bring to Tottenham Hotspur. That's basically the whole point of this channel, is to give you that inside information you might not get anywhere else. But first of all, the background on Amrabat, born in Huitzen, Netherlands. He's kind of like, I believe, Hakim Ziyech, where he's a Moroccan international, but born in the Netherlands. And I believe Hakim Ziyech is kind of the same sort of circumstance as well. Born 1996, August 21st, 25 years old, will be turning 26 in August, 6 feet 0 inches, 1.83 meters tall. His club is for Fiorentina. His youth club is Utrecht, which is very good, I would say, actually, a historic club out of the Netherlands. He can play center mid or he can play center defensive mid. I feel like he's more of a box to box sort of center mid from what I've seen. A really good ball carrier, but that's what I would say is his best attribute is probably ball progression. Market value stands at around £8 million, so you can maybe see why we're kind of rumored with a player like this. His contract expires in 2024, so there you are, everybody. Those are kind of the basic informations on Sofyan. But matches played, I decided to kind of compare him to Højbjerg, since I know Højbjerg basically dominates all of our stats in our midfield. So you might as well compare him to our best, midfielder when it comes to the stats, and that is Højbjerg. Amrabat, a bit of an explanation here. His best season, it seems like, was in 2019-20 in the Serie A, where he played for I believe it was Hellas Verona. Over at Hellas Verona, he had a really good season by the looks of it. Seemed to be one of their better players, but ever since then, going back to Fiorentina, I believe he was out on loan at Verona, then came back to Fiorentina, his parent club, and has really not kicked on. Last season, he played a fair amount of games, actually, to be fair. He played, I believe close to 2,000 minutes or whatever it was. And that's usually a decent sign that he was used a lot. Whereas this season, he's not been used at all. He's played something like 11, 12 games, but he's only played 270 minutes total of football, which means he has not played a lot of football, everybody. So that must be taken into consideration, which is why I'm not too excited about this sort of guy. If he can barely make it into the Fiorentina team, at this moment in time, that's just at 25 years old in the position that he plays, which isn't, dominated by a plethora of talent there. I am very worried. I am very worried. I don't think this is maybe a good transfer, but let's break down and see how he compares in terms of matches played. Højbjerg last season, I'm trying to compare him to Højbjerg last season, since Højbjerg's only been at this club 2 seasons. I thought I could compare him maybe to Southampton sort of numbers from 2019-20. But I'm not sure if that gives us the best sort of look as to what he can really offer. I feel like using the Højbjerg from last season could give us a good indicator of what this guy can bring, because we all know Højbjerg had a great season last season, more on the defensive kind of side of things than like the actual creative side. So Amrabat should beat him in a lot of regards. And so I think we're kind of setting up Amrabat to do well in these sort of kind of stats comparisons. But if he doesn't do well, then I think that says a lot about the player. And definitely. But matches played, Højbjerg played 38 full matches last season. Again, everybody, bit of an indication of how much Højbjerg has been used and how tired his legs must be. Amrabat played 35 matches last season. In terms of key passes over the entire Serie A season versus key passes over the entire Premier League season, Højbjerg played 17, whereas Amrabat played 30 passes into the final third. Højbjerg completed 235. Amrabat completed 151. That probably has to do with the fact that Spurs, at the end of the day, were a team that did dominate the ball a bit more than other teams. But then again, under Jose, you probably wouldn't say that was completely true. But Amrabat played for a very much smaller Serie A club at Hellas Verona, so maybe didn't get as many opportunities to play it into the final third. Progressive passes, Højbjerg played 193, where Amrabat completed 141. Switches of play, Højbjerg completed 68 while Amrabat completed 72. It is nice to see Amrabat kind of winning that sort of stat because we do need somebody to be able to switch the play. Is he really that guy to do it? I'm not really sure, but it is good to see that he did it more than Højbjerg at one stage. Assists, though, I mean, Højbjerg had 4 assists last season, everybody, so I think that should be remembered. It's actually quite a few. And then Amrabat actually only had 1 assist for Hellas Verona last season, so that's not very impressive, I must say. Shot creating actions. Højbjerg had 52 shot creating actions last season. That's not very many. He's absolutely going to shatter that stat this season. If he's just going to shatter that stat this season, by the looks of it, as well as probably some stats on his progressive passes he's going to shatter, and his passes into the final third he's going to shatter, and his key passes he's going to shatter. He's just going to be shattering all these stats this season that he did last season. Højbjerg is maybe because he's also playing a bit further up the field than maybe he's used to. But goal creating actions, Højbjerg had 8 goal creating actions, also something he's also going to shatter this season. Whereas Amrabat only had 5, which I don't know. Tackles and interceptions, Højbjerg had 168 tackles and interceptions combined, whereas Amrabat had 90. That does really tell me, though, that Amrabat, I'm really trying to find something that he's really good at. I think we will break it down, but maybe in this kind of stat right here, in terms of players dribbled past, Højbjerg dribbled past 26. He's going to shatter that one this season as well. He's already getting close to that, I believe. And then Amrabat has dribbled past 89 players in that 2019 20 season. So Amrabat seems to be very good. From what I've seen from highlights, very good ball carrier, very good ball progressor, very good on the ball in terms of actual dribbling, in terms of actually skinning past a man and carrying the ball at the pitch. Everything else, I would say, quite underwhelming, if not quite average, by the looks of it. Carries into the final third. Højbjerg 26, Amrabat 75. Fouls committed, which I think this is interesting. Amrabat, I will say, he commits a lot of fouls and he gets a lot of yellow cards by the looks of it. So he could be that dirty kind of grafter, maybe in our midfield that we need. Højbjerg committed 80 last season, whereas Amrabat committed 70. And being close to Højbjerg in terms of fouls committed from last season is actually quite admirable, I would say. It does say that you probably were doing a lot of the dirty work. My problem here, though, is with Amrabat is you kind of see all the stats there. Does he really beat, Højbjerg in anything apart from kind of dribbling? It doesn't really seem so. He doesn't really seem to offer a lot in terms of passing. I would probably say, and you maybe have heard this thrown around, from the highlights, from the stats, from everything that I can gather about the guy, he seems like the we'll say worst version of a poor man's Moussa Dembele. He would be the worst version of a poor man's Moussa Dembele. He is just all kind of dribbling, ball carrying, ball progression, and that's what he's good at. But that's everything he's good at. I would say that's the only thing he seems to be good at, Amrabat. Whereas for Moussa Dembele, we all know he offered a whole lot more at the end of the day than just simple ball progression. But that is kind of the whole breakdown on Amrabat. Would I take him on loan? I think he would, to a degree, maybe give us something more than like a Dele Alli or a Tanguy does. I will admit, and I think that isn't saying very much because we're just not using Tanguy, and we're not using Gio, and we're not using Dele. Maybe we might end up using this guy, and maybe he can actually do a job. Maybe he wouldn't be a bad person, for squad depth. I mean, who knows? I could be completely wrong on the guy. I don't think he's a signing that would really challenge the starting 11 in the ways that we would want him to. But at the same time, it is probably more about getting players into the club that actually will try for the badge and players that actually will offer something in terms of, what Conte wants. And I think Amrabat maybe could do that, whereas a Tanguy or a Gio or a Dele just don't do that. They don't offer anything that Conte wants, whereas maybe Amrabat will. So maybe that is kind of the bit of optimism. But I take him on loan with option to buy. No, but am I going to throw my hands up in the air about it as maybe others might? Probably not, because at the end of the day, I do want this midfield to improve dramatically. I do want this midfield to get a lot more bodies in there that actually are of some use to Conte and are actually also can play variety positions than what some of the other players like a Harry Winks, a Dele, a Tanguy, and a Gio. They can't play any position apart from the one they excel at. I think we need players like Amrabat who can maybe play more than one position. But that'll be all for now, everybody. Please like, please subscribe, hit that notification bell to never miss another kind of scout report / breakdown like this one. And I'll be seeing you.